What is up, everyone? Today we're going to talk through the eBay Authenticity Guarantee Program once again. This is very specific to sports cards. I'm going to take you through, what the loophole actually is with regard to this program, why it's so poor, and how you yourself can be a bit more protected and trying to avoid sellers that are trying to take advantage of this situation. Now, like I said at the very start, you would have heard me, talk about this many times over the last few months, in particular the last couple of weeks as well. And I feel like based on the comments that have been posted on my recent videos, we need to talk about this once again. Now, if you're not sure what the eBay Authenticity Guarantee is, it's essentially a program that eBay implemented that they have operating for, other things like luxury handbags, watches, so on and so forth. It's this program where basically eBay want to try and better protect their customers, right? Better protect their buyers and also sellers in a way as well. And the way it works is you buy a card, if it goes over a certain value, a certain threshold, that seller is then required, like it's mandatory, right, to send this card to their Authenticity Guarantee Center, and they will verify, number one, that the card is genuine, and number two, that, it matches basically what the seller's description actually was. And where things get a bit, messy on this is that, there's a pretty big loophole in this, and that it doesn't apply to card lots. So lots of sellers have started taking advantage of that. Some of you, don't like the program. I think it's a really good thing from eBay, to be honest, because it's a good way to protect buyers. It's a really good way to try and, prevent, buyers and sellers taking advantage of the system, because it works both ways. Often you'll get, buyers that they'll buy something and they'll say, what, the card's fake or it's not as described. The eBay Authenticity Guarantee person is ensuring the card is appropriately, as described. So if it goes back to the buyer, they can't then try and do some hanky-panky or anything like that. It also protects buyers in instances with sellers trying to sell fake cards, right? Or sell fake PSA slabs or sell, altered cards, because it goes through that program. And to an extent, they're going to do a bit of an analysis. They're not going to do a bit of a deep dive to make sure the card is perfectly prevented from fakes, right? Like they'll just do the few checks, and that wasn't a proper sentence that I just said. They'll do to the best of their ability, but it'll give you some comfort. Now, as I briefly touched on, there is a very large loophole with this, and that is sellers that are doing things like this, as you can see, where they'll have a very high value card. In this specific instance, it's a PSA 1.5 Wayne Gretzky rookie, and they'll chuck a bunch of really cheap inserts, or maybe even a couple $1 cards, $2 cards, $5 cards in there as a lot, just to try and avoid this program, because lots do not go through this program. So this seller is the one we spoke about in my video from 2 weeks ago. This seller is very clearly trying to take advantage of people, because it's been proven that lots of cards that this person has sold have been fake, right? So they're going about this in this specific way to try and avoid that loophole, because they know that if they were to sell that card individually, it's going to go to the Authenticity Guarantee Center, and they're going to, number one, either determine that the PSA slab is fake, or determine that it's been tampered with and the card's been replaced, or the card doesn't match the label on there either, because, they'll look at PSA's pop report as well. They'll see the card's maybe being decertified. But again, it's a very alarming situation, and this is going to be nothing new for the regular viewers on the channel, because I talk about this all the time. The thing I want to talk to today that I maybe haven't clarified a bit further in the past is, protecting yourself. What's the best way to protect yourself from things like this? And in all honesty, when you see a lot like this on eBay, just do not look into it. If it's got lots of bids and it's going for a high price, do not go into it. Obviously, you can try and make plays on lots, as I've explained in the past. Lots are a really, really good way to find deals on eBay. But instances like this, where this card sold for, $800, it doesn't even have the bidding history on there anymore either. But essentially, all these numbers, right? And this one looks like it was ended by eBay, but there's plenty of others that this seller was having, right? This is that dodgy seller I was telling you about. But if it's got lots of bids and it's going for a really high price, just don't take the risk. And this guy, like I said, his eBay account had 14,000 feedback, 100% positive based on what we saw. So you as an individual, you as a buyer are going to see that and still be comfortable enough to buy from this person. When in reality, you should not be buying it, right? Because seeing lots like this on eBay where you've got a high value card and a bunch of shit cards, stay away from that person, right? Because they're very clearly trying to take advantage of you as, a buyer in the worst case. And in the best case, it doesn't look good. So to best protect yourself, just avoid it. And it goes to anything, within the hobby. And I say this all the time, people need to be, buying the card, not the label, not the holder that the card is in, because there's other ways you can sort of get scammed. And the same logic goes there, right? Where if you go to a card show and you really want like a Michael Jordan rookie to PSA 1, that's all you can afford as an example. It's all I can afford. So you're looking at it, but something seems off, so you don't buy it. But some people still go ahead and buy it, or they'll see the label and they'll just be like, oh, it's a PSA 1. They won't even really look at the card. They'll just buy it. No, that same logic that goes with these lots should apply to that. If it looks too good to be true, and that goes for generally anything in life, right? But if it looks too good to be true, don't do it. Or if you need to do a bit more research, do that little bit more research. You're never going to, shoot yourself in the foot if you were to sit back and, look at the card in detail. Take, a magnifying glass with you when you're looking at it on eBay. Just go that extra step with regards to looking at things, because then you don't get burned. And, if you're too lazy to invest the additional time to try and avoid getting burned, or invest the additional time to say no to a deal like this, to no to this lot, then you almost deserve to be scammed in the first place. But just be patient. Patience is everything, right? Especially in the hobby. So that quick tip, avoid lots on eBay like the plague, because, right now eBay don't appear to be doing anything about it. It's quite a hard problem for them to solve. So it's not worth the risk. When you go into card shows, buy the freaking card, not the holder. Who cares if it's in a PSA 1? Especially over the last couple of years. I had a few really good chats, with some people in the comments of that video that I talked about with that eBay scam. It's actually got quite a lot of views, which is good to see. Lots of people are getting notified of the situation, which is a really, really good thing. Lots of people are asking, what's going on these days? Grading is so inconsistent, QC is so poor, yet people still lap it up. The reason why people still buy into this stuff and lap it up like crazy is because they don't know what they're looking. They put too much faith into, these productions, these manufacturers, I should say. They put too much faith into these graders. So they just say, it says PSA 9, so I'm just going to buy it because it's the PSA 9. It's like, no, I said this like months ago when it came to CGC for comic books, right? I remember, I'm a very big comic collector. I was very big into collecting comics, in the late noughties, early 2010s. And one trend that was happening within the comic book market that I said, 18 months ago that I was surprised it hasn't transferred into, sports cards, is that there was a genuine emphasis and premium placed on comic books that were graded, in the early 2000s, as opposed to today in the modern age, right? And primarily because what they found was CGC appeared to be a little bit more consistent and a little bit tougher with regards to the older grades. So people would buy, a 9.0, and keep in mind, CGC grades go 9.0, 9.2, 9.4, 9.6, 9.8, and then 10, and there's also a 9.9. So they'd go ahead and buy, a 9.0 of an Avengers #1, as an example. I'm just talking arbitrary comics here. They'd buy that 9.0 and pay a significant premium on that. You're talking in like 10, 20, 30, 40% premium on that, as opposed to a 9.6 bought and graded today, right? There's that huge disparity, and I found it very strange, when coming back into the graded card scene over the last 5 or 6 years, that it didn't transfer. And that mindset, it seems to be far more exacerbated these days, in that people are, turning more of a blind eye to this at all. They're not even paying attention to the consistency of these grades. They're not even paying attention to the card itself in the slab. And I know I just went on a mini tangent there, but that's another interesting thing you need to think through. Like, if you have the time and you have the money, and, a PSA graded card from, 10 years ago is going for the same price as the one you're buying that got graded yesterday. Like, look at the cards, and chances are, for the most part, or more often than not, I should say, you're going to see that the older card maybe looks a little bit better. And if it doesn't, so be it. But that's also something you should be thinking about. You need to sort of think about these things when you're buying, and not just trust the labels, not just trust the seller that has 14,000 feedback, because chances are people are trying to manipulate you. Chances are, like in this instance, they're trying to manipulate eBay's authenticity guarantee. It's just really unfortunate. And I feel bad because not a lot of people, talk about this. You've got people that are sort of pumping up the market. I'm not calling out any influencers here, like specifically, but you guys know who essentially they are, right? They're telling you to go out there and buy. It's like, no, they should be telling you to do your research. Don't just buy. Don't just trust what PSA have said. You got to do your research, buy the card, inspect the card, and then you'll be fine. Don't just buy. And bloody NSYNC song now, I got that stuck in my head. And also, one other thing I wanted to add as well, like, it's hard for eBay, right? I touched on it very briefly a bit earlier. eBay, how can they fix this problem? Could they somehow implement lots into their authenticity guarantee? Well, then what does that do with regards to shipping costs? Because if you all of a sudden selling, 100 cards in an eBay lot, how do you prevent that from going through the eBay authenticity guarantee program, right? Do you work it out on an average number of cards to then determine the threshold that it should qualify for the program? It's a really, really hard thing for them to do. And that's why, like, my suggestion when they first announced this program, right? If you as a buyer want the card to go through the authenticity guarantee program, it should be up to you, and you pay the fee. So in this instance, with this scam buyer, right, or this scam seller, I should say, he knows what he's doing, right? Based on what we've seen on the blowout forums, based on what we explained in my video, he knows he's scamming people. So you as the buyer could buy this Wayne Gretzky card for $800, and you say, you know what, mate, when I got to pay, there's an option there for you to go pay, right? I want this to go through the authenticity guarantee program. You pay it, you pay the fee as the buyer. The seller's like, okay, that's fine. Because if you're a genuine seller, you wouldn't have an issue with that. But this guy, what would he do? More than likely, he would cancel the listing. So that's what eBay should be doing in this instance. Give the power to the buyer to enter into this program if they want to, if it's an order that does not qualify, right? And then in that, when you request that from eBay. You could say, you know what, I only want you to provide the authenticity guarantee over this, Wayne Gretzky card, right? You specify exactly which card in that lot you want the authenticity guarantee to work on. You say the rest doesn't matter. You still pay the fee for having to ship more cards to authenticity guarantee and then to yourself. But again, you're protected then as a buyer. Why eBay has yet to think of that is pretty strange in my opinion. I don't think there's enough uproar with regards to this kind of thing happening. I know eBay in the past have commented on some of my videos when I've spoken about the authenticity guarantee, so I really hope they see this and sort of look into applying that moving forward, because that's a really, really good way to try and protect your buyers, protect your platform moving forward. A lot of people at the end of the day will say, well, you know what, eBay don't care because whether the auction, goes through or it's fake or not and it still gets paid, they don't care because they still get the fee. Yes, that's correct, right? There's a bit of self-interest there with regards to maintaining and generating more fees by not fixing this problem. But if you got to think down the line, down the future, right? If eBay want to make sure their platform is still viable long term, and it still is the best platform to buy cards on, in my opinion, but if they want to ensure that's going to be the case forever, then they need to fix things like this. Because if customers keep getting burned and then eBay support doesn't really look after them, what's going to happen? They're not going to use the platform anymore. So those are all the things you need to think about. Again, a very long video today. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below regarding, my suggestion about avoiding lots altogether until eBay sort this out. Let me know your thoughts on my suggestion on how eBay could fix this authenticity guarantee program, because I think they need to do that. Give the onus to the buyer to protect themselves. Let me know if I missed anything, if you've got any other tips or tricks with regards to, buying on eBay and how to best protect yourself when you've got scumbags like this trying to take advantage of you. I just mumbled there. I do apologize. Again, a lot of the topics we talked about today have been talked about before, but I think given the recent news and the recent trend on the comments I've seen in my videos, we needed to clarify it once again. So, thanks for watching. It is my birthday today, so happy birthday to me. That's a bit wanky to say that, but it is what it is. Thank you. You might not be able to see me for a couple of days. We'll see depending on how the birthday celebrations go, but that's sort of it. So cheers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.